Good morning, everyone. It's November 1st, and we all made it through Halloween, hopefully safely. Know there was a lot of people out having a lot of fun last night. Hopefully, you had designated drivers and were able to make it home without any incidents. So, today I want to talk a little bit about how do we actually achieve our goal of real change in this country. I was asked some questions last night by a new friend that spent the better part of the evening talking to me at an event a friend was holding, and was asking me lots and lots of questions. Happens to be a Vietnam veteran, so very interested in the ideas of what we were discussing. And at the end of the day, I've had this conversation with a couple of people now. One asking me, what's our core and how are we able to financially support our core in this modern day when money seems to be everything. So that brings me to this point. In this world, it does appear that if you don't have millions, if not billions of dollars, then you don't stand a chance at making real change. And that's a problem because just for the fact that things are that way right now doesn't mean that they should be that way. So I ask people questions like, if you truly don't enjoy what you do every day at work, then are you really living, or are you just existing in a day-to-day repetition trying to support the things that you need, like food and clothing and a place to sleep? And if we're all on that borderline of not really enjoying what we do for a living, but we're doing it because we're paying the bills in order to exist, that's not really what life was supposed to be, by my estimation. So think back to a time in your life when you were truly happy, and what were you doing? Think back to a time when you were imagining what you were going to do when you became an adult, and what that fantasy job was going to be. And then look back through your history and your life and see where things started to go in a different direction, and what were those driving forces. And the answer, more than likely, is going to be it was a financial decision. You were faced with a point where what you wanted to do versus what you were able to do was determined specifically by an income choice or some other financial decision, whether it was you had a sudden unexpected, you were going to be a father or a mother. Um, you had a family member pass away and you had to go back and take care of other family members, or whatever that life changing moment was for you. Think about that. And then think about, what would the world look like if you weren't forced to make those decisions? You weren't at a point where you felt obligated to decide between what you wanted to do versus what you um, had to do. And I want you to think about that for just a second, because in this world, we're faced with choices every single day. And I hear people all the time tell me, well, I don't have any choice. And that's utter crap. You always have a choice. You always choose whether you want to participate or not participate. You always choose whether you want to follow that law or not follow that law. Now, the choice may be obvious because the consequences are so extreme that it's not worth making the other decision, but you're always making choices. And specifically at this point in time, we're 3 days before the next election. And we have an election in this country every 2 years. So every 2 years, we're faced with the same repetition of one party attacking another party and pretending like they're different when in reality they're doing the same exact things. So in our current process and our current system, you can never really tell what somebody is for or against in their voting record, because there are so many layers of crap in one law, in one bill, as it's going through the system. So whether or not the Republican or the Democrat is voting for or against some particular issue, they can slander each other and use these really horrific negative ad campaigns based on the fact that nobody really knows what's going on up there. And so we have this disconnect between our government and the people that the government is supposed to represent. And so I challenge those of you that are politically active to decide for yourself what you believe in. And if you believe, like most of us believe, that money should not be a part of politics, then we as a collective need to start to have a very public discussion about how we're going to change that. And my suggestion is we need to eliminate the two-party system. It is long past its life cycle, just like the Electoral College is long past its life cycle. There is no need for this separation between the governed and the governing. It used to be necessary not because of a need for it, but rather because it made sense when the politics were happening hundreds and thousands of miles away, and we didn't have the technology to communicate like we do today. I mean, for God's sakes, last night, 8-10 hours ago, as the young Marine was being released from Mexico and put on a plane to Florida, within minutes, I had notices in my email and in my social media sites that this man had been released after 200 and some odd days. So instant information is accessible. Then the trick is to decipher it. So you have to be able to look at the information objectively and try to turn off your bias filters, because we all have bias filters, and try to get a sense of the story from multiple angles. Specifically, this young man that was in Mexico. Everything that I can find from all the different news agencies and all the different resources that are out there, when you filter out all of their biased information, the young man had a few weapons in his truck. He made a wrong turn and ended up in Mexico. And being able to talk to some of the people closest to the story, the guy was having all kinds of issues because of what happened to him when he was in war. And yet people were on a absolute high horse about how we have no right to tell the Mexican government what to do because this man broke their laws and da 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 da. But yet they never really charged him with anything except for accidentally entering Mexico with weapons. So why did they hold him for nearly a year and then release him 3 days before the midterm elections? It's just very interesting when you have to separate your own emotional responses from a logical and rational thought process. So I'm asking for all of you, every single person that watches my videos, every single person that you share them with, please find it in your day to spend a couple of minutes and think about what drives your life. And if you don't like what it is, then you need to evaluate what you can do to change it. Because if we want this world to be a better place, as most of us do, then we have to change what we're doing day to day in order to make that change. So, as an example, I have walked away from everything in this world because I believe to my core that our government is broken. And it's so broken that it's not going to repair itself. It's not going to come back to center. And so I'm asking for my fellow veterans, especially those that have service-connected disabilities and they have the financial resource to be a part of this kind of a concept. We need to demonstrate that we weren't just willing to sacrifice our lives in the time of war, in wars that we really shouldn't have been a part of in the first place because we were being used as pawns in a game of capitalistic crap. We need to prove to the American public that there are still people out here that put valor and integrity and determination above profits. So I'm going to live off of my disability check that I earned, my little $500, it's a little less than $500 a month, for the next 2 years, and I'm going to continue to ride for this one cause, which is I want to rally all of the little disenfranchised groups out there. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of disenfranchised groups that are trying to change this country. And we need to collect and organize around one goal, which is to break the cycle of financial corruption in this country. So I hope to see more of you on the road. I look forward to interacting with more of you groups, and I look forward to helping us organize in a way that this country has not seen in a long, long time. Ciao.